folks, you know it's a big news week when the contempt resolution against a sitting attorney general goes virtually unnoticed, because last week, the individual mandate that is the foundation of Obamacare was found to be unconstitutional under the Commerce Clause, but it was upheld as a tax, handing Barack Obama and the Democrats a gigantic, perhaps a life-saving victory. Oh, God. Anyway, joining me now to plumb the depths of this dark day are Scott Ott, and sitting in for Steve Green this week is our own Steve Kruiser, and I'm just going to go outside and eat worms. Guys, we've been told to look on the bright side on this one, that the closing, or at least the narrowing of the Commerce Clause barn door was a blessing. Steve, it just kind of felt like a punch in the gut to me. The law that exists after the ruling is not the same one that was passed, and this law never could have gotten through Congress if it had been sold as what it really is, a regressive, steep tax on the middle class. So how are you feeling about all this, Mr. Kruiser?
Well, Bill, I'll tell you, I was doing a bus rally tour through Virginia last week when the news came out, and I wasn't surprised. There was a bus full of people riding around through the countryside of Virginia the night before, and I was monitoring the social media amongst the conservatives, and I said, I think everybody's a little irrationally exuberant right now. There's a victory dance going on here that I don't think is warranted, because I never thought the whole thing was going to get tossed out. I was even sketchy on whether the mandate was going to go down. I didn't see this split in the court, and so I looked at it for what it was. Yes, they lied to us. We knew it was a tax. We called it a tax. They tried to make up some convoluted thing, but now you've got the most liberal members of the Supreme Court saying it's a tax. So the first thing I thought was, okay, Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor just said the president lied to us. I can work with that moving forward. The other thing is I had no emotional investment in this, there is no bright side or dark side to look at. There's only what we have to do next. They want a tax fight, they'll get a tax fight. We know how to fight tax fights.
Well said. Scotty, you know, many have speculated, and CBS News is in fact stating as fact, that Chief Justice John Roberts, supposedly a stalwart conservative, originally voted to strike down the law that nominally swishy Justice Kennedy adamantly tried to return him to striking down that law. That seems more of a heartbreak than some of us can stand. We thought we could count on John Roberts.
Well, yes, we did, and I'm not so sure that we can. And I will be the first to admit, I read the entire ruling and the dissent, and I frankly enjoyed reading the dissent a whole lot more than I enjoyed reading the ruling. There were some confusing elements to the ruling itself. However, I think we are in a situation that is not irrevocable. It's not something that can't be remedied. And the first remedy is actually getting that control of the Senate and getting control of the White House and strengthening our control of the House as we go into this election season. If this can't light a fire under the tails of people who were sort of, you know, nominal Republicans, well, then nothing can. This is probably the best campaign issue we've ever had, because not only do we have motivation, but we have a president, a sitting president, who has now been certified by the Supreme Court as a liar.
I think you meant to say as a big fat liar. I think the job, you know, guys...
That's the Latin way of saying it, yeah.
Look, I think the job of the Supreme Court is to protect us from bad laws, and they didn't do that. So now it's up to us. So, Steve, do you think this ruling has helped keep Obama alive? Do you think we're striking it down might have actually crippled him? Or do you think, as Scotty said, this is a gift to conservatives and the Romney campaign?
There is a positive way to proceed. Whether or not the Romney campaign and the national GOP will figure it out on their own remains to be seen, of course. I think, you know, as I said, if they want a tax fight, we can give them a tax fight. There always was going to be a fight. I think people assumed that having the entire law thrown out would have been some sort of magic bullet. But as we've seen time and again with the Obama administration, there probably was some sort of executive overreach ready to react to it had it been struck down right away. As we saw earlier in the week with the Arizona immigration law, they had something ready to go right away for the things that didn't go their way on that. So there was going to be a fight either way on this, and we need to know how to fight it. The way to fight it is to fight it as a tax, to fight it as something that was sold to us under false pretenses, and to say he's a liar. I think that's a word that we need to keep saying over and over again. It just remains to be seen whether the Romney campaign will embrace it fully and run forward with it.
Well said, Stephen. It's a pleasure having you here. Scotty, what do you think? Do you think we have a real chance to pull this health care law out by the roots? As Speaker John Boehner said, just grab the whole thing and just pull it out of there and throw it in the ash heap and start all over again.
Yes, I do. And as a matter of fact, I don't think it's the Supreme Court's job to protect us from bad laws. It's the Supreme Court's job to protect us from unconstitutional laws. And I think that there's a difference. And when you read Roberts' opinion over and over, I mean, he almost came right out and said, this is a terrible piece of legislation, but it doesn't reach the level where we should strike it down and therefore overstep my inclination, John Roberts' inclination to show judicial restraint. He's saying, take care of it at the ballot box. He has telegraphed that very clearly, and now it's our job to do it.
Okay, there you go. We know where the lines are, and we know who's on which side of them. You know, my friends, this was a disaster. I agree with my friend Mike Walsh. He said that as a ruling, this was up there with the hair splitting of the Dred Scott and Plessy versus Ferguson's ruling. It was convoluted legalese that ignored the moral issue of the day. That's my take on it. I think that by any reasonable interpretation, Justice Kagan, who had a hand in creating the legislation, should have been recused, but she wasn't. None of that matters now. What matters now is the choice we make going forward from here. Do we fall into bitterness, recrimination, and despair, or do we harness our well-deserved moral outrage as we did after Pearl Harbor and 9/11 to go out there and show Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid, and especially Barack Obama, what happens when they awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve? For PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle.